Hey guys, this is Andrew with Rock Class 101. Today we're going to be introducing a new section for our site. It's going to be called Talking Tone. And Talking Tone is basically going to be introducing you all to local Atlanta artists. We're going to be sitting down talking about what type of gear these artists use, and more importantly, how it shapes their sound. So we're just going to have a conversation. And the first artist we'll be sitting with is going to be Rhett Shull. We're actually shooting today in his studio basement. Rhett Shull is an artist that's actually playing right now with Noah, who is a YouTube sensation. He just recorded on Noah's current CD called Among the Wildest Things, which is out now. Please check that out online. We'll have links below. And he also played with Carl Dillon Band, and they're currently recording an album as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet Rhett. Rhett, tell us a little bit about what guitar that you really like to use.
Well, I've got three kind of main guitars that I use for just about everything. One of them is this guy right here. This is my 52 Hot Rod Telly. It's really cool because it's nice and versatile. I changed the bridge pickup to a Lawler specialty. It's a little hotter. And it's got a Seymour Duncan mini humbucker at the neck, which makes it really versatile. I can kind of take this one guitar to just about any gig and it'll get the job done. Everything from rock to funk to blues and country and all that stuff. So there's that one, and then there's this guy right back here. This is my baby. This is a 2011 custom shop ES335 Gibson. That pretty much goes with me everywhere. It's been to every major gig I've played. It's been on stage in front of 55,000 people for the Beach Boys show, and I think this is probably, if you could only have one guitar for the rest of your life, this would be it. I mean, you can literally play anything on a 335 and it sounds good. The humbuckers in this one are PAFs from Gibson. They're just the stock humbuckers or whatever came in it, but they're really hot. This is the loudest guitar that I have by far. So usually I'll take two guitars to a gig because it's always good to have a backup in case you break a string or something. And I'll take this guy and this guy because they work really well together. And then the third one that I go to is my Strat. Everybody needs a Strat. This one's kind of unique. This is a John Mayer signature. I'm a huge John Mayer fan. So this was his black one that they did. They only made 500 of these. And I got this one used from a guy in Texas. And it's great, man. It's got his signature, I think he calls them the Big Dipper pickups. They're low output, but they're mid-scooped, and they're really good for that kind of quacky Strat tone that everybody likes. And I think this is probably the best looking Strat fenders ever made. Black, mint green pickguard, gold hardware. So yeah, those are kind of my three go-to guitars that I use for just about everything.
Rhett, you said that the Gibson 335 is kind of your baby. It's like your go-to guitar. How does your sound with your pedal board play a role with you using that guitar?
Well, the board, the way I have it set up is I put a lot of time and energy and money into making this a pretty versatile setup so that I can plug any guitar into any amp at any gig and have it work. So with the Gibson, because these are hotter pickups, none of these amps have reverb on board, so I've got the Eventide Space as my reverb unit, and I run a little bit lighter reverb, and then I usually run my compressor just to kind of help even everything out, bring the highs up, squash the lows, which works really well with this guitar. So one of my favorite settings on this is just the neck pickup on this guy.
So your reverb, you have it set probably a little bit more than I usually would. Why is that?
I like it. It to me, playing without reverb feels unnatural. I'm just used to it, and so I like having that kind of wash under your tone. I try and keep it so that it's not muddying up my sound, which in this room it kind of can, but when it's out on stage with the band, it kind of helps, especially if I'm playing by myself or if I'm playing a lead part. I like having that kind of squishiness to it.
Right. Now you have a couple compressors.
I actually have one compressor.
Which is the squeeze?
Yeah, it's the JHS, I think they call it the Pulp and Peel. And I demoed a lot of different compressors. I played the Keeley 4-knob, Boss CS2 and CS3. And I like that one the best because it works a little bit differently than other compressors. Whereas something like the Keeley 4-knob can give you that really kind of squashed, like funk country kind of sound. This makes your guitar cut through a little bit better. So this is without the compressor. This is with it. That's a little volume, but the main thing is it cuts really well.
Yeah, you can definitely hear a difference. Now, Rhett, I've known you for a while. I know you're a big wah-wah player.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about some of the pedals that you've gone through.
This was actually the first pedal I ever had. I got this for Christmas one year before I even really knew what pedals were or did. And it's a Jimi Hendrix signature. And it's, honestly, I haven't really demoed a whole lot of different wah pedals. This one just works and I like it. Been with me through thick and thin and hasn't given up yet. So if it ever gives out, I'll probably go buy another one.
I see that you have the Timmy on board, and the Timmy is a pedal that I actually have on my board as well. And it's very transparent overdrive. That's kind of what drove me to want to buy that. I wanted something that would just take my matches, my amp's natural sound, and just boost it up. Was that the same kind of thought process you had behind it?
Yeah, that's actually the newest addition to the board right now. I had seen a lot of guys use it, and I'd seen a lot of guys use the bigger version, the Tim, and I just decided I had to have one. As you can see, I'm kind of an overdrive junkie. I've got 4 overdrives on the board, and that's the one pedal I find looking at more than any other type of pedal are overdrives. That one's quickly becoming my favorite for the same reason you just said. It's super transparent. And when you've got good tone, you know, if you've got a good guitar and a good amp, you don't want something that covers that up. You want something that complements that. So
Absolutely.
Timmy does that really well.
Do you run the Timmy with another overdrive, say if you have more of a rock kind of that you gotta play?
Yeah, so the reason I have 4 drives on this board is so I can get kind of 4 different flavors of overdrive, and I can stack whatever overdrives I want in any order, and each one will give me a different type of lead tone. Kind of my favorite one right now, especially with this guitar, is to stack the Timmy into the BB preamp, and that gives you a really super saturated, lots of sustain, kind of almost a Dumble-esque kind of lead tone. So think Robin Ford, Joe Bonamassa kind of sound.
So we've talked a lot about your lead type of sound. How do you approach rhythm playing?
Rhythm playing is something that I think all guitar players need to practice, probably more so than their lead playing, which doesn't often happen. With my students, I end up working on rhythm playing with them just because in a professional setting, 95% of the time I'm playing rhythm, whether it be some kind of melody or some kind of funk rhythm, whatever. Very rarely do I actually get to step out and take a solo. So I think good rhythm playing is super important. And again, I've kind of set my whole rig up around that sort of mentality.
So if you're approaching playing a funk rhythm, how would you set up your rig for that?
Keep it clean. So I'll probably just run 2 pedals. I'll run the compressor into the reverb, and that's it. And then on the guitar, I'll usually run both pickups in the middle position like this, and you get this kind of sound.
So if you were going to approach maybe something more clean, more pop style of a chorus, maybe an open voicing of a chorus, how would you approach that?
So if it's more pop style of stuff, what I like to do, especially when I play with Noah, his music really lends itself more to that. I'll put a little bit of delay on there as well. And then I can also kind of take a little bit more liberty with the overdrives. So kind of my typical pop voicing is I'll do the Morning Glory, and then I'll do a little bit of delay. And then right now I'm running stereo, so I'm running both of these amps together, and I'm only running delay through one of the amps. And so what that does for me is it kind of keeps me from getting too saturated and too much delay and getting muddy. Or there would be like a more open voiced chord kind of sound.
So the Morgan amp is your newest addition.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
This thing. Well, it's the Morgan AC20 Deluxe, and I searched for the amp probably for over a year and settled on this one. It's EL84's 20, I think it's technically 23 watts, and Joe Morgan, the guy who builds them, based this amp off of a Vox AC30 circuit, but the normal channel of the AC30, he voiced it a little bit darker than the AC30, which is exactly what I wanted. Some cool features: you can switch the preamp tubes between EF86 or 12AX7s, and it's got a couple cool mods. It's got a brilliant switch and a bass cut switch, and it's 3 knobs. I like it. I like them simple. You know, I love it.
How does this contrast against the Port City?
Totally different. Apples and oranges. EL84s versus 6L6s. So this is 50 watts, all clean. Think Fender, vintage Fender blackface tone. This has been a workhorse amp. I've used it on every gig, every record I've played on, and people come up to me all the time and ask me, "Man, what kind of amp is that? Where are you getting that tone from?" So I love it, man.
Well, the Port City's kind of just a very flat amp where you build your tone on it.
Yeah. It's got great tone to start with, but the thing it does really well is it takes pedals better than any other amp I've ever played.
Moving forward in your future, what do you see for yourself in the next 5 years?
I would like to be touring, playing out a lot, and working in the studio. And I'm already doing all those 3 things, it's just taking it to the next level. I want to see the world. I want to go to Europe. I want to play in Europe. I want to make a record. I want to produce a record. And keep working in the studio. I think for me right now, working in the studio has been my favorite thing, just because I love the entire process. I love to create. You're literally creating something out of nothing. You know, when you leave the studio after the day or the week, you've left with something that didn't exist before you went in. And that's really cool. It's really fascinating.
What keeps the drive going? Because I know a lot of musicians, maybe they're starting out or they've been in the scene for a while, and they may get a lot of rejection or not entirely know how to move forward. What keeps you pushing forward?
You just gotta keep at it, man. For me, that means I don't have a plan B. You know, I don't have a, if music doesn't work out, then I'll go and do, finance or whatever. Like, if this doesn't work out, I don't eat. So that's the way that I look at it. You know, this has to work. And if that means I'm scrounging for $50 gigs, and I'm doing that. If that means I'm making big hit records, I'm doing that. But that's kind of the best advice I've gotten is don't give yourself a plan B, because this is a tough industry. If you have a plan B, you're probably going to take it at some point or another.
Being a musician is just kind of, it's not something you fall into, it's just something you're drawn to.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely easier ways to make a lot more money than being a musician. But for me personally, I can't see myself doing anything else. This is my passion. This is what I believe I was put here to do, and I'm doing it.
We want to thank Rhett Shull for taking time out of his schedule to sit down with Rock Class 101. And to hear more of his playing or to see him live in the Atlanta area, check out Noah Guthrie. And you can find him at the links below. So take care. We'll see you next time.